with SmackDown last week being the first Thursday in months without mega competition on network television. The WWF attempted to capitalize on the potential increased audience with Vince McMahon announcing at the start of the broadcast on the first TLC match ever on network television to take place in the main event, attempting to make sure Benoit and Jericho lose the tag titles in what ended up another all-time memorable match in the TLC series, with all four teams putting on a WrestleMania-caliber effort on free television. As Vince McMahon, who also announced Thursday on Triple H being out between 4 to 6 months due to the knee injury suffered last Monday, opening Raw to major heat in front of the Canadian crowd, with Raw Tonight coming from Bret Hart country in Calgary, cutting a promo on the Canadian crowd before being interrupted by Chris Jericho to a big reaction demanding a title shot at Austin tonight. With the plan before the Triple H injury looked to be building to two singles matches at the King of the Ring pay-per-view, with Benoit vs Hunter and Jericho getting his first pay-per-view title shot against Austin, running down Vince and Austin before showing footage from the famous Vince stand-back performance in the 1987 Slammy Awards, which also included a rare appearance from Hulk Hogan on the guitar in the background. As Vince booked Jericho in a title match but against Big Show instead of Austin for the hardcore title, Chris Benoit joined the segment 15 minutes into the show to another big reaction, also asking for a title shot at Austin to lead to Vince booking him against Rhino, with the one between them to put on the most impressive performance in their match gets Austin for the belt in the main event, as the hot star didn't break the growing issue of the show's opening quarter starting lower on almost a weekly basis, with the 3.4 tonight the lowest in years, before picking up over 600,000 viewers for the end of the segment to a 3.8 rating. And with Raw Tonight coming from Hart territory, the figurehead of Canadian wrestling Stu Hart was shown in the front row to a big standing ovation from the Canadian crowd, alongside other members of the Hart family, and the first Hart appearance on WWF television since the Owen tragedy 2 years ago in May '99, and the first time Stu made an appearance on a WWF program since the famous Canadian Stampede pay-per-view in July '97 that took place in the same building as Raw Tonight at the Saddle Dome, to one of the hottest crowds in wrestling history and an all-time highlight for the Hart family. Closing that night with the full family in the ring. At a time Bret Hart was the top guy in the company in what seems like generations ago, due to the rapid pace of the industry at the peak of the Monday Night Wars, despite taking place less than 4 years ago. Benoit vs Rhino went 4 minutes, with Benoit going over clean to advance to Vince's decision, with the Jericho Big Show match coming up, and after climbing slowly throughout the first 45 minutes, Raw finally entered the 4 rating range, picking up over 600,000 viewers to a 4.3 rating for what seemed like a routine Blackman vs Saturn tag match, and ended up kicking off the potential biggest angle in history, as Lance Storm ran through the crowd to lay out Saturn and become the first WCW wrestler to invade a WWF show since announcing the sale of the company on March 26, with Storm making the appearance in his hometown of Calgary before running to the waiting Shane McMahon in the parking lot after last week announcing that WCW is starting sooner than everyone thinks, officially starting the angle to build intrigue to boost numbers on who might come in next, with Vince selling it big, screaming at security on letting a WCW wrestler invade a WWF show, with Raw's first hour on the night averaging a 3.9 rating, was the lowest rated hour of Raw in its regular time slot in years, going back to going head-to-head against Nitro at its peak, coming 4 days after SmackDown, headlined by the spectacular first-ever televised TLC match, maintained its viewership from the previous week after almost 2 months, drawing 6.4 million viewers, with the top of the hour seeing Jericho vs Big Show going 5 minutes, with Jericho going over clean to win the hardcore title and set up Vince's decision, followed by Rhino laying out Jericho with a gore moments later, with the 4.5 rating for the match ending up the highest rated quarter of the night. With the news of Scott Hall being contacted by Shane McMahon about signing with the company in time for the Invasion pay-per-view on July 22, Nash, who has 7 months left on his WCW contract, commented on the rumors of Hall making a WWF return in a post on his website, saying that Hall is sober for a long time and over huge in Japan, noting that Hall originally went to Japan to find out if he still wants to wrestle before falling back in love with the business during his current run, with Nash saying that him and Hall are currently in the best physical shape they've been in years to open the door for a possible Outsiders reunion in the WWF early next year. And as the Invasion kicked off earlier in the night with the Storm interference, another tease came in: a mystery person stalking Undertaker's wife in a hidden video, with Booker and Paige still at the top of the list of the Time Warner contractual performers who are most likely to come in first, after Scott Steiner decided to hold off until he's fully fit, with him currently dealing with several injuries. Raw's final quarter started with a Triple H video package recapping his leg injury at the end of the main event last Monday in what is set to be his last match until at least November, saying that he planted the leg wrong when hitting Jericho and immediately felt like he was shot in the leg, while pushing through the pain to continue the match, with him having 2 major spots left, with one being the walls of Jericho on the announcer's table and the other accidentally hitting Austin to cost them the titles, with Hunter, who was originally scheduled to turn babyface and feud with Austin after WrestleMania, which instead saw them teaming together to delay the eventual turn and feud close to the summer, having an MRI later in the night to schedule the surgery minutes after the results revealed that he had torn his quad, with Austin now, after potential big programs as a heel against Rock and Hunter, having to carry the main event load without both on the road for the next several months, with Benoit and Jericho being elevated to fill the void at the top of the card. Chris Benoit vs. Steve Austin kicked off at 10:57 p.m. to go 10 minutes in the overrun, and after a show-long build for a Benoit title win, including Jericho building it up as Benoit's night in Calgary at the place both started their career, Austin and Benoit went 11 minutes in front of a hot crowd, with the building ready to explode for the Benoit title win, including popping huge for him using the sharpshooter to almost make Austin tap for the finish, ending up with Austin's plan being revealed as a Montreal remake, with Hebner in the ring and Vince calling for the bell in Bret's hometown, closing the show with Benoit and Jericho getting Austin and McMahon back to make them tap and stand tall to end the night to a big ovation from the crowd, as Raw, despite what looked to be growing momentum with strong performances on both Raw and SmackDown, continued its negative streak with the 8th week in a row to see a rating drop, while unlike last week also dropping back in viewership to finish with a 4.2 rating and 5.3 million viewers, with the positive note on the night being that unlike several of the past few weeks, the show held the audience and built throughout the broadcast to peak at a 4.8 rating for the Benoit vs. Austin main event, with hopes that the hot atmosphere and performance in the shows over the week, along with the start of the crossover appearances from the WCW Invasion, will lead to increase in interest that will reflect in numbers over the next several weeks.